Okay, so I need to tell you about this crazy situation that went down at my workplace. So there's this person I know, Isla, who works in marketing. She's always been a bit of a free spirit, but we've gotten along pretty well for the most part. Anyway, one day she just up and quit her job without warning. Like, no explanation or anything. Just walked into HR and handed in her 2 weeks notice. Which what? We were all shocked. And I know what you're thinking, oh girl, maybe she had a personal issue or something. But here's the thing, Isla has always been super organized and on top of things. She never had any major problems that we knew of. So when she just up and left like that, it was weird. We all tried to ask her why she quit, but she just kept saying that she needed a change of pace and wanted to follow her passion. Vague much? Fast forward a few weeks, and I get an email from my boss telling me that Isla is coming back to work. And at first, I'm like, okay cool, happy to have you back. But then I start thinking about all the drama that went down when she left, and I'm wondering if this was just a publicity stunt or something. Because let's be real, Isla can be a bit dramatic sometimes. So we're all gathered in a conference room for her first day back, and it becomes pretty clear that Isla has been toying with us a bit. She walks in looking like she just stepped out of a fashion magazine, and proceeds to spend the entire morning ranting about how we didn't appreciate her, and she was treated unfairly. Which, okay, I get it, we did kind of make her feel like an outsider for a few weeks there. But what really gets me is when she starts talking about how she's going to shake things up around here and make us all work harder. Like, Isla, honey, we're a marketing firm. We work hard every day. You don't have to come in here and start being the office superhero or anything. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is getting weird. But my coworker Theo just rolls his eyes and tells me not to be so dramatic. And that's when I realize, this isn't over yet. Not by a long shot. As Isla stormed out of the office, leaving us all in stunned silence, Theo patted me on the back and said, don't worry, she'll come crawling back. Little did he know, that was exactly what happened. The next day, we received an email from Isla announcing her return to work. We were all surprised, but also a bit worried, what had changed? Had she finally realized that being the office drama queen wasn't as glamorous as she thought? But it quickly became clear that nothing had changed. Isla walked in looking like the same person who stormed out 3 days prior, minus the fashionable outfit this time around. She was more subdued, almost calculating. Theo and I exchanged a nervous glance as Isla began to monologue about how she had realized her mistakes and was committed to making things right. But it wasn't long before we were both on edge again, sensing that there was something off about her. The next day, we received an email from our CEO announcing that a major client would be visiting the office, and Isla had been chosen to lead the meeting. Theo and I exchanged worried glances. What if Isla's behavior continued to escalate? As the big day approached, we could feel the tension building. We knew that Isla was capable of pulling off some wild stunts, but this time around, it seemed like she was aiming even higher. On the morning of the meeting, I walked into the conference room to find Isla pacing back and forth in front of a large screen, which she had set up with a slideshow. The theme, revolutionizing our industry. Theo and I exchanged skeptical glances. What did this have to do with anything? As Isla began her presentation, it became clear that she was not just talking about marketing strategies or industry trends. She was talking about overthrowing the current corporate structure and creating a new world order, with herself at the helm. Theo and I were both white-knuckling our chairs as Isla's words grew more frenzied and paranoid. This was getting out of hand. We needed to intervene before someone got hurt. But just as we thought things couldn't get any worse, Isla dropped a bombshell. She had been secretly working on her own social media campaign, aimed directly at our CEO, Theo, and me. And it was about to go live in an hour's time. Theo and I looked at each other, our minds racing with worst-case scenarios. What did Isla have planned? Would we be the stars of her next dramatic spectacle? The clock was ticking. We stood frozen as Isla stormed out of the conference room, leaving us both shaken and confused. Theo whispered to me, what just happened? I shook my head, trying to process the sheer audacity of our coworker's behavior. 3 hours passed, and we were still on edge, wondering what would unfold next. And then, without warning, our phones started blowing up with notifications. Isla had indeed launched her social media campaign, and it was a masterclass in chaos theory. Tweet after tweet, each one more outlandish and sinister than the last. Theo and I exchanged terrified glances, thinking that this was it, we were about to become the laughingstock of our company. But as the hours ticked by, something unexpected happened. The tweets kept coming, each one a carefully crafted barb aimed directly at our CEO. It started with subtle digs. Did you know that Theo here used to work for a rival corporation? Or Isla's been trying to tell you this for years, Theo, your entire career is built on lies. But as the campaign gained momentum, the attacks grew more personal and vitriolic. Our CEO was bombarded with accusations of embezzlement, nepotism, and even treason. Theo and I were horrified, but we knew we had to act fast. We couldn't just sit back and let Isla destroy our company's reputation. So, we huddled together in the break room, brainstorming a plan to put an end to this madness once and for all. That's when Seth walked in, our usually stoic IT guy, who looked like he'd just sucked on a lemon. "Guys, I've got some bad news," he said, his voice laced with a mix of concern and amusement. Isla hacked into the company's server and made off with all our marketing data. The room fell silent as we digested this bombshell. And then, in a moment that will forever be etched in my memory, Seth dropped the ultimate truth bomb. It turns out Isla's been secretly funding her own campaign using company funds. We stared at each other, mouths agape. Theo turned to me and whispered, "This is it, we've got to take action." I nodded in agreement, a plan starting to form in my mind. With Seth's help, we managed to track down Isla's location, a remote cabin on the outskirts of town, and come up with a plan to confront her. As we arrived at the cabin, we could hear the sound of maniacal laughter echoing from within. We burst into the cabin, ready for a showdown. But instead of finding Isla, we found ourselves. Yes, you read that right, our CEO had been in on it all along. He was the mastermind behind Isla's campaign, using her as a pawn to distract us while he carried out his own sinister plans. The truth hit us like a ton of bricks. Isla wasn't just a disgruntled employee, she was a pawn in a much larger game. And we were the ultimate targets. As it turned out, our CEO had been embezzling funds from the company for years, using them to fund his own lavish lifestyle and secret projects. And Isla's campaign was just a desperate attempt to take him down with her. The dust settled, and we were left staring at each other in shock. Theo whispered, "Well, that was a wild ride." I shook my head, still trying to process everything that had happened. "I still can't believe this happened," I said, the words feeling like a mantra of utter disbelief. As we walked out of the cabin, Seth turned to us and asked, "You guys want pizza?" The absurdity of it all hit me. Here we were, having just survived a corporate coup, and all we wanted was pizza. It was a surreal moment, one that I'll never forget.